Let's give a big round of applause to Marco D'Amico for going out there and providing us with a new, juicy Montreal Canadiens related trade plan to dive into here. It all comes to us in the form of this article posted on rg.org from yesterday. Source: the Montreal Canadiens are playing the waiting game on the trade front. Now, this article will be linked in the description, and admittedly, the title doesn't really give too much away as to what the ins and outs of Montreal's trade plan appears to be. But the rest of the piece, once you dive into it here, there's a lot of food for thought from Marco D'Amico, and honestly, I wanted to go out there and shout out the folks on rg.org, Responsible Gambling, I think it's what it's called, because they have been providing a whole bunch of hockey-related commentary, analysis, and interviews that has really fueled this channel and has made it a lot easier to talk about stuff during the dog days of summer. So big shout out over to D'Amico, big shout out over onto rg.org, but this specific article dives into what the Montreal Canadiens are probably looking towards doing with this man right here. Scary Carey Price, 37 years old, making $10.5 million a year till the end of 2025-2026. He hasn't played a hockey game in 3 years, and we don't expect him to play a hockey game pretty much for the rest of his, professional career, I guess. I mean, I don't discredit the idea that maybe he plays a charity game at some point or whatever, but Carey Price is on the cusp of his final NHL season under contract at $10.5 million. Right now, the Canadiens are over the cap. They are one of the highest spending teams in the National Hockey League. They can go to LTIR with Price's contract on the books. That's okay for them, but they probably don't want to do that, assuming some of their younger prospects are going to hit bonuses and thus give the Canadiens some more cap penalties for 26-27. So, let's dive into this article on rg.org. The key takeaways from the piece go as follows. 1. The Montreal Canadiens are remaining patient when it comes to adding talent via trade this offseason. 2. An NHL source told rg.org that the Habs do not want to move any long-term assets, such as Michael Hages or David Reinbacher. And number 3, September 1st is the target date for a potential move by Montreal when they can pay off Carey Price's final signing bonus and get that contract off the books. Let's skip past the Michael Hages, David Reinbacher stuff. I mean, it's not really all too surprising. Oh yeah, the Canadiens didn't even consider trading away Hages or Reinbacher in trade talks. They strongly believe in these two. That's reasonable. Yeah, I think a lot of Canadiens fans, despite understanding the fact that the Habs are more competitive now, they still believe in the young dudes. It's like, hey, yeah, they want to get into the playoffs, they want to do all this stuff, they want to make some impacts, but don't trade away Reinbacher, don't trade away Hages. Let's just keep these guys around, and we'll see what they inevitably become. But this is where the article dives into the Carey Price trade plan, and how Price's contract seems to be the key to unlocking cap space. Well, duh. The guy's making $10.5 million against the cap. Here is what the anonymous NHL source told rg.org. The Montreal Canadiens are taking a pulse on the NHL trade market and seeing where they fit in. All eyes are on that September 1st date when it comes to Carey Price. The reason why September 1st is on everyone's mind is due to Carey receiving his $5.5 million signing bonus on that date. Once paid, he'll only be owed $2 million in actual salary, despite his $10.5 million cap hit. And what's more, of that $2 million salary, 60% of it will be covered by insurance. So, there is the magical number that we have been looking for this entire time. How much of the Carey Price salary will be paid by the NHL team that has him, and how much will be paid by the insurance? Well, $2 million total of a salary. 60% of $2 million is 1.2 million. which means that whichever NHL team has Carey Price on their payroll, throughout the course of the year, they're only going to have to pay him $800,000. That's not a lot of money at all. Okay, it's a lot of money. I think $800,000 would change most of our lives, but $800,000 for an NHL franchise, an NHL owner, that's not too impactful there. Yes, the $10.5 million cap hit is impactful, but you're not actually paying that amount of money. That's the averaged cost of the contract as a whole, and thus that's how it's reflected on your salary cap. This is what the piece says, that Carey Price and his $800,000 salary after September 1st is an extremely attractive and cheap endeavor for a team close to the salary cap floor that knows it will need to unload major salary throughout the season. Once Price's contract is moved and they actually have real cap space, there is potential for a subsequent Montreal Canadiens trade. Because the Habs don't want to use off-season LTIR right now, and they don't want to sacrifice a roster player, another NHL source explained. So with this in mind, it seems like upon the Carey Price trade, because the way it's being worded, it says, once Price's contract is moved, there is potential for another move. It's not saying, we'll see if Price gets traded, whatever. It's like, nah, he is probably going to get moved. That is the date, September 1st. He gets the bonus paid out, and then he'll probably be on his way to another NHL team. Let's dive into it further. On top of being able to surpass the NHL salary cap by 10% in the offseason, which the Canadiens are currently leveraging at the moment of this writing, using off-season LTIR provides temporary flexibility, but it's not the same as having real cap room. It can complicate in-season maneuvering and limit the Canadiens' ability to respond to new opportunities. Moving Price's contract potentially to a cap floor team looking to absorb the deal for financial and asset-based reasons would give Montreal freedom to make moves without those restrictions. GM Kent Hughes and Executive Vice President Jeff Gorton have a history of making notable trades late in the summer. As we had noted earlier in the month about how they always seem to make deals in August, and there's precedent for them finding value at that stage of the offseason. Here is what their source went out there and said. Hughes and Gorton often get a second wind in the month of August and September to make trades, so it wouldn't surprise me at all. Right now, nothing is really happening, but it wouldn't be shocking to see them pull off a trade once Price's contract is off the books. So, it does seem like Montreal is poised to not just making a Carey Price trade, but to also making another interesting move upon the completion of Price's departure. Once that guy's off the books and once the Canadiens have themselves some cap space, it does seem like their positioning could improve dramatically, allowing them to pounce if another team faces a cap crunch or a roster squeeze in training camp. Now, admittedly, that doesn't really tell us much as to where Carey Price can go, but based off of all the conversations we have had about other teams and the situation around the NHL, I mean, obviously he's not going to any of these teams. Actually, he might if they want to go to LTIR, but there are a bunch of teams that need more dollars taken up on their salary cap. Anaheim, San Jose, Chicago, any of these teams could be options here. But for now, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you think the Montreal Canadiens will respond to the Carey Price trade? And what subsequent moves do you think are going to be in store for Kent Hughes once that $10.5 million AAV salary is off the Habs payroll? There are a lot of options the Canadiens can go once that money is freed up. But where do you think it's going to go? Let me know in the comments all your opinions. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.